Are you too perfect? Perfection is a blessing, right? Nah, not always. Don't listen to me. Robert Greene says this. Never appear too perfect. Display a flaw or two to avoid envy and attract sympathy. In his banned and often controversial book, The 48 Laws of Power, specifically in Law 46, maybe we don't think about it, but this is reality. The world isn't perfect, and it hates perfect things. Chapter 1. Are you too perfect? In life, perfection is often the goal, right? An ideal to strive for. Yet, it is a two-edged sword. Perfection can become a weapon turned against the one who wields it. When you appear flawless, you invite envy. Envy, like a silent fire, eats away at admiration and replaces it with resentment. The Stoics warned against being blind to human nature. Seneca, for instance, observed that envy arises not from one's possession of virtues or fortune, but from others' perception that these qualities are unattainable for themselves. Perfection creates distance. It whispers to others, "I am beyond you," and in doing so denies them relatability. People are drawn to those who feel accessible. A crack in the surface does not weaken you. It allows others to see the light of shared experience. Psychological research supports this. The pratfall effect, Elliot Aronson, 1966, demonstrated that individuals perceived as competent were more likable when they displayed small flaws. This is because vulnerability breeds connection. It reminds others of their own humanity. To use this law, balance confidence with humility. Show strength, but let others glimpse your struggles. This doesn't mean pretending to be weak. It's about revealing a truth that resonates with others. To defend against those using this law manipulatively, focus on their consistency. A calculated imperfection is a facade, but genuine humanity endures. By valuing authenticity over charisma, you prevent being swayed by appearances and judge character by substance, not shine. Chapter 2. The Hidden Blade. Envy is a shadow that follows the bright glow of success. It is subtle, often unspoken, yet profoundly destructive. Those who feel it may not voice their resentment, but it can manifest as passive aggression, sabotage, or even outright hostility. Understanding envy's mechanics is key to navigating its dangerous terrain. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer described envy as the most corrosive of emotions, because it diminishes not just the one who envies, but also the one envied. Unlike jealousy, which seeks to possess, envy seeks to destroy. Modern psychology echoes this view. Studies on relative deprivation theory suggest that individuals often judge their success not by their achievements, but by how they measure up to others. When someone's superiority feels unattainable, envy deepens into resentment. To wield this law effectively, recognize that you must temper the display of your success. Highlighting the effort behind your achievements can shift the narrative from "they're better than me" to "they worked hard for this." For instance, sharing struggles, setbacks, or lessons humanizes your success. People admire triumph, but they connect with perseverance. Conversely, to shield yourself from others using this law against you, remain aware of your own envy. Stoics like Epictetus remind us that envy reflects dissatisfaction with ourselves, not with others. Combat it by cultivating gratitude and focusing on your values, not comparisons. If someone feigns humility to disarm your guard, assess their intentions over time. Authenticity reveals itself in the unguarded moments of consistency. Mastery of envy, both in recognizing it and mitigating its effects, ensures your path remains steady, unshaken by the malice of others. Chapter 3. Flaws as shields and bridges. Imperfections can serve dual purposes. They shield you from harm and build bridges to others. In a world that often admires the flawless, it is counterintuitive but powerful to recognize that showing vulnerability can make you stronger. A well-placed flaw can disarm envy and soften potential threats by humanizing you in the eyes of others. Consider Marcus Aurelius, who emphasized accepting human frailty as part of the natural order. By acknowledging our imperfections, we not only align with reality, but also foster empathy. This perspective is echoed in modern psychology. The likability principle shows that people favor those they feel connected to. Flaws can act as social glue, reminding others that you are not above them, but with them, on the same plane of shared humanity. To use this law strategically, choose your vulnerabilities wisely. For example, admitting a minor mistake in a professional setting can make you relatable without undermining your competence, but never show your big cracks. They can harm you other than helping. One more brighter side of projecting small flaws. They will be looking at the small crack and won't try to find bigger ones. So it's also a shield to manipulation. Let your imperfections be a controlled revelation, a subtle act of transparency that builds trust while protecting your true strengths. To guard against others manipulating this law, ask yourself whether their flaws feel staged or genuine. Authentic vulnerability arises naturally and isn't overly polished or convenient. Look for consistency in their actions. Real flaws are part of a larger narrative, not isolated performances. Imperfections, when used thoughtfully, create an armor of connection and relatability. They allow you to navigate envy and foster loyalty, turning what others might see as weakness into quiet, enduring strength. Chapter 4. Against scrutiny. Projecting small flaws is not just a way to connect with others. It's also a strategic defense. By revealing minor imperfections, you can direct attention away from deeper vulnerabilities, creating a protective layer against scrutiny. When people are busy observing a crack on the surface, they are less likely to dig for hidden fractures beneath. This technique turns perceived weaknesses into subtle shields against manipulation and excessive judgment. From a philosophical standpoint, this aligns with Sun Tzu's wisdom in the art of war. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected. By voluntarily offering minor flaws, you guide others' perceptions, focusing their gaze where it benefits you most. In this way, your small imperfections become decoys, guarding the strengths you wish to keep concealed. Psychological research on the anchoring effect highlights why this works. Once people latch onto an initial piece of information, such as a visible flaw, they are less likely to explore further. This cognitive bias ensures their attention remains anchored, sparing your deeper layers from investigation. Curate the imperfections you reveal. For instance, admitting to being overly meticulous might come across as relatable while overshadowing other vulnerabilities. This technique also softens envy, as minor flaws make you appear approachable rather than untouchable. To use it as sword, be wary of distractions. If someone seems too eager to showcase their faults, consider what they might be diverting you from. Remember, flaws can be deceiving, like a witch. Never trust someone blindly, just by assuring you know their vulnerabilities. By staying focused on the bigger picture, you can see beyond their constructed persona. The balance lies in using small flaws as shields, not as deceptions, but as tools to protect what matters most while fostering trust and relatability. In doing so, you disarm both envy and excessive judgment with elegance and control. Chapter 5. The power of controlled vulnerability. This can look like a manipulative tactic, but it's actually not. Controlled vulnerability is a rare and potent skill. By intentionally revealing selected flaws, you invite trust, disarm envy, and protect your deeper strengths. This strategy ensures that you maintain control of your narrative while projecting a sense of authenticity. Vulnerability, when used wisely, is not a weakness. It is an armor shaped to shield and connect. Philosophically, the Stoics emphasized control over what lies within our power. In this context, revealing minor flaws becomes an act of agency. You decide what the world sees, turning potential judgment into an opportunity for connection. Similarly, psychological principles like the self-disclosure effect suggest that sharing personal truths can strengthen bonds and increase likability. When this sharing is deliberate, it fosters relatability without exposing genuine weaknesses. Using this law effectively requires balance. Highlight struggles or faults that show growth and humanity. For example, admitting past overconfidence paired with a lesson learned can inspire both respect and trust. Such admissions allow others to feel closer to you, believing they understand your journey. At the same time, these revealed flaws become a shield, directing attention away from vulnerabilities you wish to protect. To guard against those who misuse controlled vulnerability, look beyond their words to their patterns. Authentic vulnerability is consistent and sincere, not exaggerated or conveniently timed. Those who overplay flaws may seek to manipulate rather than connect. Controlled vulnerability transforms human imperfection into strength. By deciding which cracks to show, you craft a narrative of resilience and relatability, protecting yourself from envy and forging deeper bonds with those around you. Chapter 6. The balance between strength and humility. True power lies in the delicate balance between strength and humility. While flaunting perfection provokes envy, appearing overly flawed invites pity or dismissal. The art of applying this law is in navigating the space between these extremes, presenting yourself as capable but human. From a philosophical lens, Aristotle spoke of the golden mean, virtue as a balance between excess and deficiency. In this context, the excess is perfection, which alienates, and the deficiency is exaggerated imperfection, which undermines credibility. To navigate this middle ground, one must project competence, while subtly revealing vulnerabilities that enhance, rather than detract from, perceived strength. This balance is reflected in the humble brag phenomenon, identified in psychology. A 2015 study by Cesar, Gino, and Norton found that while humility can enhance likability, overt attempts to appear modest while boasting can backfire, eroding trust. Genuine humility, however, rooted in acknowledging one's limitations without undermining achievements, fosters respect and relatability. To use this law for power, share moments of struggle, but pair them with eventual triumph. For example, discussing a project that initially overwhelmed you but resulted in success showcases both vulnerability and resilience. This combination draws admiration without triggering envy. To protect yourself from those who misuse this balance, focus on authenticity. Manipulators may feign modesty to obscure arrogance or control perceptions. Scrutinize their actions over time, not just their words, to discern genuine humility from calculated pretense. When applied wisely, the interplay of strength and humility becomes a tool for building relationships and solidifying influence. It is not perfection, but this harmony that endears, inspires, and protects. Chapter 7. Turning vulnerability into strength. In this last chapter of our guide on power and relationships, let's talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, yet it holds the potential to become a profound source of power. By owning your imperfections and using them deliberately, you transform them into assets that protect you from envy and draw others to your side. Vulnerability, when authentic, creates trust and dismantles walls of suspicion. Philosophically, this idea resonates with the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, which finds beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. In this perspective, flaws are not just accepted, they are celebrated as essential parts of being human. This view transforms imperfections from liabilities into unique markers of individuality. This authenticity not only builds trust, but also insulates you from manipulative scrutiny. When your flaws are already on the table, critics lose their leverage. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard viewed vulnerability as a doorway to authenticity. He believed that embracing one's flaws allowed individuals to transcend superficial appearances and connect with deeper truths. Similarly, psychologist Brené Brown's research on vulnerability, 2010, revealed that it fosters trust and emotional intimacy, key elements in any influence strategy. Vulnerability, then, is not about exposing every flaw, but about choosing which parts of your humanity to reveal in order to forge connections. To use this law, be intentional with your vulnerabilities. Share struggles that demonstrate growth, not stagnation. A leader, for example, might admit to having doubted their ability to succeed, followed by an explanation of how they overcame those doubts. This not only humanizes them, but inspires confidence in their resilience. To defend against others, leveraging vulnerability manipulatively, examine the context of their revelations. Are their admissions timely and relevant, or do they feel like strategic bids for sympathy? Genuine vulnerability is unforced and arises naturally, while contrived weaknesses often lack depth or sincerity. Ultimately, vulnerability is a tool that must be wielded carefully. When used wisely, it builds bridges and protects from envy. But when misused, it can expose one to exploitation. The key lies in authenticity and discernment, ensuring your imperfections serve as a shield rather than a chink in your armor. Thanks for watching.